and there were questions about its sustainability, its longevity, and it has turned out to be probably the top 3, if not the top financial investment
opportunity there is
in Trinidad and Tobago.
Correct. It's all about adapting, and it's all about performing.
And has not faltered once in the 30 years, to my knowledge. So good work. But speaking of not faltering, let's talk about the new year. And with the new year comes new opportunities.
Yes.
We can start afresh. We can build on what we've developed before. So let's talk about what new financial habits should we adopt and why in 2012. What should our mindset be starting any year?
Well, in 2012, since it's a new year, it's a great time to now start planning your finances for the upcoming year. And the theme that we would like to push basically is planning. And there are 3 key things or 3 key habits that you could pick up this year that you could start practicing, and that is goal setting, planning your time horizon, and also saving and investing by paying yourself first. This is something that we've preached throughout the entire of 2011. Now, goal setting and time horizon. You want to set realistic goals, stuff that you know that is attainable by yourself, given your current circumstances, given your current income and expenses. Time horizon. You want to give something which is, of course, achievable within a decent time frame for yourself. When you combine these two...
Define decent time frame.
For example, if you know you want to save up for a house, that may take you maybe a number of years to actually accumulate the necessary capital. Now, the key in this is that this is going to prevent you from taking unnecessary risks. Say, for example, you tell yourself, okay, I have to save $1 million by the end of this year to buy this house. You might find yourself taking unnecessary risk, which you want to avoid, because with increased risk, of course, has the increased chance of you losing your money, which we want to avoid.
And just to add to Justin's point about time horizon, we always ask that you characterize in terms of short-term, medium-term, and long-term. So the example that Justin advanced speaks to long-term investing.
All right, and savings and investment.
Saving and investment. In 2011, we spoke about developing the discipline of paying yourself first. People are very familiar, or should be familiar, with the electronic banking facilities that are available to the everyday person now. Electronic banking, which you could set up your own standing orders. If you don't have electronic banking, you could set up your standing order through your bankers. And there's also the more direct salary deduction, which you could also do with your payroll department and your HR. What this does for you is before you see the money in your account and you get the temptation to say go and spend it on something maybe a little frivolous, you could
Carnival.
Carnival. You could actually have that money sent to a savings vehicle, whether a mutual fund or to your stockbroker, which will allow you to save before you spend.
What I'm hearing from you is that you need to be realistic about your financial situation and plan accordingly, that it is possible, regardless of how small an income you may be bringing in, to achieve your financial goals. So let's talk about those people who have these goals. They're trying really hard, following your 3-step plan, but they're getting frustrated along the way. Let's give them some encouragement.
The frustration comes in because when you set your goal, as you mentioned, Destiny, it wasn't realistic. And realistic means that it must be measurable. So if it is that you say, okay, I want to, Olympics is this year, right? To go to Olympics in London, the airline ticket might be $9,000. You decide that for the new year, I'm going to treat myself to that. So $9,000 in June, starting now, will mean that you have to put aside the amount of money you have to save will be approximately $1,500 per month. But you tell yourself $500 will be enough. That is not realistic. And the time frame, again, going back to Justin's point, is that it is too short. I mean, it's short term, but you want to say $500, it would not be sufficient. So that will lead to some frustration. Another point about that is that you have to ensure that there are risks that may hinder your achieving that objective. So you're saving a $1,500 as planned, so 15 by 6, $9,000, $1,500, $9,000, and something happens. You fall ill, you lose your job, the death of a spouse, these things, and you say, oh my God, I was saving so diligently, how come, and lead again to frustration. So you have to bear in mind that these risks can hinder your achieving your objectives, so you have to plan. Contingency planning, we always ask that you put aside at least 6 months of your salary for emergencies. So even though something happened, God forbid, then you can still go in and you can realize your goal of going to the Olympics in 2012.
How important is it to balance short, medium, and long-term goals, given the fact that if we only focus excessively on long-term goals, we can become frustrated in the process. If we don't see the tangible benefits of it.
Right.
If we don't focus, if we should focus only on short-term goals, we won't be planning for the future, and medium-term goals fall in the middle. How important is that balance when we're planning our own financial strategy?
It is very important, and that's why we ask that you rank your financial goals according to your time frame. So if it is that short-term goal, vacation, that's 1 year, then you will look at an investment vehicle, an instrument that will afford you that opportunity to save and be able to withdraw that money within a year. If you're talking about medium term, like 1 to 4 year period, that look like in terms of getting ready for buying a car or a home, down payment for a home or down payment for a car, then again, you look for medium term vehicles that can afford you that opportunity. Then you talk about long term, for example, like Justin mentioned the house, then again, you look for instruments that can afford you that opportunity for long term investing. So if we bring it back home, for the unit trust, we have our TT dollar income funds, which is a short-term fund. For the medium term, we ask that you look at our growth and income fund, and we marry that again in terms of with your short-term, the TT dollar income fund. And for long-term, we have the other instruments like our growth and income fund, which can extend beyond, and also our international suite of funds, which will afford you that opportunity to extend for that long-term long-term goal.
People have to remember that, you know, you have to live now, no matter what. So even though we do stress on medium-term and long-term planning, remember, part of financial planning is actually discerning what expenses you have now. You have to eat, you know, you have to house yourself, you know, you have to pay rent.
Some people will say, I also have to play mass. There's some who equate eating and breathing with playing mass.
And nothing's wrong with that, you know. I mean, if that's a priority, so be it. But don't forget, at the end of the day, you have life goals and life obligations to meet. And these are things that you have to take into consideration when you plan your expenses. Because if you don't, you could find yourself playing mass on borrowed money. And that borrowed money for mass could be the form of a loan, which could then turn into a vacation loan, which then turns into a Christmas loan, which will then turn back into a carnival loan. And you could find yourself carrying this debt burden, which may only get heavier and heavier as time goes by.
Let's talk about that whole issue of debt. We see, you know, the banks competing for people to come in to get loans, and people are getting credit cards and so on and so forth. And not everyone is able to manage and juggle it very, very well. And some people are living credit card to credit card and paycheck to paycheck. Let's look at those realities as we head into 2012.
Okay, in terms of loan, we always talk about good debt and bad debt. Just you mentioned credit cards. If you can't afford to pay off your credit card on a monthly basis, then please don't use it to buy any big ticket item that will afford you to carry on, because right now it's 2% per month, which is 24% per year on your credit card. So we advise that we suggest that you don't engage in big item purchases or even using it to play mass if it is you cannot afford to pay it off within the month. Taking a loan, if it is that you can't afford to take a loan and again pay it off timely, we really want you to, we are about having you realize your goals and saving towards your goals. We are really not about loan taking. But if you must take your loan, then ensure that you're able to pay it off in a timely fashion so that you can start back saving. We are all about suggesting that you save and invest. So loans and credit card debts, we want you to manage those. Manage your expenses, what we want you to do for 2012.
How important is valuing oneself and one's future in the whole equation, given the fact that if we really understand that you were talking earlier, Justin, about a standing order that can actually not only pay bills, but go into your investment.
Yes.
Isn't that valuing yourself and your future equally as valuing your other obligations? And shouldn't that help people from falling off the wagon, as it were, when you start off and you have all the great intentions and all the plans, and then you fall off the wagon?
Yes, so basically it acts like a safety net. So, and that it also helps you with the discipline in that you're more or less forcing yourself to save, but not forcing yourself. I think it's a commitment that you're undertaking.
And you shouldn't really have to force yourself, because if you value yourself and your future, you realize it's just as important as a car payment, as the house payment, and every other investment that you have.
Paul, it goes right back to your goals. Everything ties right back to your goals. If it is that you want to realize your goals, you know you have to be diligent and committed and consistent in your saving pattern or investing pattern. And if once you become diligent, you realize it becomes second nature to you. It wouldn't be forceful, or be like, I am not living. You know, it will just become a part of you, and that is what we
It's like financial exercise.
Financial exercise, yes.
Are we heading into a situation where people are going to be judged by their credit score, their credit rating? Or is it here already?
Credit scores are used in the banks currently, and that's part of due diligence when banks lend. But I just wanted to touch on that point because we were discussing the credit. The thing is that we live in a very tough culture, I would say, especially for young people here, because we're more or less brought up in a culture of instant gratification, where it is we want everything now, and you could really get caught. You could really get yourself caught in that trap where you will be borrowing excessively right now at a very young age to buy these material things which you desire at this point in time, instead of taking a disciplined approach where you could actually where when you now start off in the working world, you could save in a disciplined manner to afford those things without incurring heavy debt. Because the thing is that while you could probably borrow and get that item that you really desire now, you will end up paying more for it in the end. So, but while you save for it, it actually costs less.
It's a great segue to my next point. In terms of the best word in financial investment is diversification. And it also goes into short, medium, and long term and the types of instruments that are available to meet this diversified portfolio.
Yep, diversification is it's such an important item, and we preach this like constantly. And for those of us who may not understand what diversification is,
it's like thou shalt not kill in the Bible.
Yeah, correct.
Or love thy neighbor and love
it's a
thyself.
law. It's a law of investment, and you must diversify, 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 diversify. I always use the analogy of not putting your eggs in one basket, because if you're not diversified, if you have all your money in one investment, in one savings account, that's not diversified. Diversification allows you where you have the potential to lose in one investment, you have the potential to gain in another. So basically you're offsetting any potential losses. And a great vehicle for diversifying, of course, is a mutual fund, because a mutual fund is a pool of investments. Take, for example, $100 to start off a unit trust account. If you take that $100 on the stock market, you could probably buy maybe one stock, depending on the stock, of course. There's some banks which cost almost $100. But if you invest that $100 in unit trust, in a mutual fund, that'll be split amongst many investments, which will provide you much diversification and potential for capital preservation and income.
And that is what we call instant diversification, when you come to the unit trust and invest in your mutual fund.
It's designed for that.
It's designed for that, yes.
We're looking at what's happening on the global economic scene. Things look a little shaky at the start of this year. They weren't so great in 2011. Economies all over the world are struggling. What should we be doing in Trinidad and Tobago to weather the storm that is, it's coming, it's coming?
Well, we heard this morning from the governor of the central bank, Mr. Ewart Williams.
Sounding optimistic.
Yes, and so we are guided by that. But 2008 to 2011, we were mired in low interest rates, lack of investor confidence and things like this. But what we want you to do for 2012, in spite of the financial climate, is do exactly what Justin mentioned: engage in financial planning. Continue to save in spite of the low interest rates. Manage your expenses. Set your goals.
And in turbulent times, diversify.
Diversify.
Correct. Well, that's it for us for today. Thank you very much. Of course, diversify, 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 and then diversify some more. We'll be talking to Wendy Bishop, Manager Research at UTC, and also Justin Silva, Portfolio Manager. They'll be back with us in the not-too-distant future to give us some more fantastic financial advice. We'll take a short break. When we come back from news with Sanjay Maraj, we focus on Carnival 2012. Stay with us.